This week on Christian World News, forced conversions to Islam, torture, rape, the horrors thousands of Nigerians endure under Boko Haram. We'll bring you an exclusive interview with survivors.
Plus, sounding an alarm in what could be the systematic destruction of ancient Christian communities in the Middle East.
And forgiving the barbarity of ISIS, the faith and love of a 10-year-old Iraqi refugee driven from her home by ISIS.
Welcome to this week's edition of Christian World News, everyone. I'm George Thomas.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. Well, before pledging allegiance to ISIS, the African terror group Boko Haram operated largely under the radar, seizing sizable parts of Nigeria.
Yeah, and in the process, more than 1 million people have been displaced, thousands killed, raped, or kidnapped. And those fortunate to survive this wrath testify to unspeakable horrors. I met exclusively with some of the survivors in Nigeria. With every kidnapping or attack, this young Nigerian relives the nightmare of weeks spent under Boko Haram's control.
We asked them repeatedly why they are doing what they're doing. They told us this is an all-out battle against Christians and Muslims.
On August 22, 2014, Stephen witnessed the sheer brutality of Africa's deadliest terror group.
We were working on the farm when Boko Haram attacked us.
It happened in Gwoza, 550 miles from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Hundreds of Islamic fighters stormed Stephen's town.
It was well coordinated. They attacked in huge numbers, going from house to house, stealing, destroying, then capturing men, women, and children.
This is video of the assault put on YouTube by Boko Haram.
They attacked Gwoza because it is predominantly a Christian town.
Several hundred people were killed, including members of Stephen's family.
I saw them kill my father and brother. After the killings, they took 11 of us hostage.
Stephen asked CBN News to mask his face to protect himself and his family. He said the attack went on for several hours. 2 days later, Boko Haram's leader released this video declaring the Gwoza operation as the beginning of an Islamic caliphate in northeast Nigeria.
Thanks be to Allah, who gave victory to our brethren in Gwoza and made it part of the Islamic caliphate. We did not do it on our own. Allah used us to capture Gwoza. Allah is going to use Islam to rule Gwoza, Nigeria, and the whole world.
Stephen was held by Boko Haram for months and says he saw their brutality up close.
We watched them carry out their evil atrocities from one town to another. Each time they went on an operation, they would usually chant Allahu Akbar, and this terrified us. They'd return from the attacks with dozens of prisoners and stolen items. The men guarding us always came around to question us whether we were ready to be part of Boko Haram.
Meanwhile, in another part of town,
they asked me if I wanted to be beheaded or shot in the head. I told them I'd rather be shot. They said no, they would rather slaughter me instead.
We've taken similar precaution to hide Elizabeth's identity. Like Stephen, Elizabeth is a Christian. She and her family were trying to escape Gwoza when they were intercepted by Boko Haram fighters.
They stopped our car and ordered us to convert to Islam. We refused. Then they shot my siblings behind me. My husband was ordered to leave. He fled into the bush and then they told me to get into their car.
Elizabeth was taken to a nearby town and again asked to convert to Islam. Again, she refused.
I stood my ground, and each time I refused, they put a knife to my neck and threatened to cut my head off.
But after days of torture, no food, and under constant threat of death, she reluctantly agreed to convert. Elizabeth described to CBN News how Boko Haram fighters forced her to undergo an Islamic conversion ceremony. They changed her name, told her to wear a hijab, and married her off to an Islamic fighter. Held against her will, she said she was repeatedly raped by her Muslim husband.
For all the horrible things Boko Haram did to me and my family, I leave them to the judgment of God Almighty.
After several more months of captivity, Stephen and Elizabeth miraculously escaped. The details of their escape are being withheld for security. Both are wanted by Boko Haram. And now both have joined some 2,000 other Christians living in this temporary camp outside the capital city.
And all of a sudden, they have been stripped of all their belongings, and they are living in places that are not their homes at all.
Mark Libdo has helped thousands through his Christian human rights group.
I'm doing this because people need to bring it to limelight. People need to speak about what is happening. If you don't speak about it, it's worse than those who are perpetrating it.
With the help of local churches, Libdo now feeds, clothes, and provides trauma counseling to hundreds of Boko Haram's victims.
There were many times while I was in captivity that I thought, if I got hold of a gun, I would have massacred the men who killed my father and brother.
The Nigerian army is conducting military operations to retake areas held by Boko Haram ahead of this month's presidential elections. Nigeria's leader, Goodluck Jonathan, has promised to deal with the terror group.
President Goodluck Jonathan has vowed to crack down on Boko Haram, not necessarily getting rid of them altogether, but creating an environment in his country that is safe and allowing millions of Nigerians to head to the polls.
But Nigerians aren't convinced he can do it. Boko Haram has killed more than 11,000 people in their Islamic quest, and they are promising more bloodshed in the northeast, leaving thousands of vulnerable Christians in their wake.
Great reporting, George. Well, war and persecution in the Middle East are threatening the existence of ancient Christian communities. A prominent church leader from the Assyrian Church of the East visited our nation's capital this week to deliver an urgent plea for help. Chief International Correspondent Gary Lane has more.
Bishop Mar Awal Royal leads the Assyrian Church of the East Diocese of California. In Washington, he warned that immediate action must be taken to help Middle Eastern Christians before it's too late.
We have a systematic destruction of the ancient Assyrians, if you will, through the artifacts, and also of the modern Assyrians, the modern Assyrian Christians. This is a plan that's very calculated, very systematic, and I would add that it could be defined as genocide.
Bishop Royal suggests without strong, decisive action from the West, Assyrian Christians, one of the oldest Christian communities in the world, could face annihilation. He says what Middle East Christians are facing today is martyrdom truly defined.
We are going back to the early church, to what we read about in the book of Acts, to the martyrdom of St. Stephen.
In late February, ISIS drove 5,000 Assyrian Christians from their homes in northeastern Syria, in and around the city of Tal Tamr. As many as 350 of them were kidnapped. CBN News terrorism analyst Eric Stakelbeck is the author of the new book, ISIS Exposed. He says only strong leadership and a forceful response against ISIS will save the ancient Christian communities.
They need to be decisively crushed. I think what we did in World War II with the German war machine, the Japanese war machine, we crushed them, we demoralized them, their ideology was proven bankrupt. They were defeated, soundly defeated. We need to do that with ISIS right now.
Bishop Royal says people around the world also need to pray.
We should pray for the immediate release of the innocent children and women and elderly who have been kidnapped. We need to pray that the governments in the West will feel the urgency of the matter and act accordingly. And also we should pray for our enemies. That may be difficult to say. We should pray for those who are perpetrating these atrocious acts against the Assyrian Christians because Christ has taught us to do so.
Gary Lane, CBN News.
Well, up next, picture this. Jets overhead, a nuclear reactor underneath, and 5,000 people all around you. We'll take you aboard the aircraft carrier, the USS Theodore Roosevelt, and show you how American Christians are reaching out to their fellow sailors.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. 8 years ago, my husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Inside every child is a hero, a leader, a friend to others, someone who helps out, who does the right thing, who dreams of what they can be, but they still need our help.
What should I do? What should I say? How should I feel?
That's where Superbook comes in. It provides moral and spiritual truths through situations children can relate to, teaching God's Word to the children you love. Join the Superbook DVD Club and receive Superbook's newest episodes as they're available, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25. Get Superbook today and watch the miracles happen.
Welcome back. Aircraft carriers are essentially floating cities, defending our country for months at a time. The USS Theodore Roosevelt is one of them, and it's setting on sail on its next mission, which will last nearly a year.
Yeah, and you know that extended time away can be very challenging for sailors, along with their families and their faith. CBN's Ephraim Graham has this amazing look at courageous Christians at sea.
The USS Theodore Roosevelt, 90,000 tons of steel, with a jet runway on top. And the chance to share the stories of its brave sailors is an adventure for me as a reporter from the very start. This journey from Naval Station Norfolk requires safety vests, helmets, and goggles for the no-frills flight to the massive ship at sea. Sailors call the Roosevelt the Big Stick, as it towers 20 stories above the water and stretches 3.5 football fields.
Inside the carrier feels like a series of unending mazes, bridges, and tunnels, and sometimes there can be as many as 5,000 people on board.
And they make up this vessel's most impressive asset, from those who guide the rapid takeoffs and landings on the flight deck, to those who repair pipes in the machine shop.
It's coming off of the copper melting.
And those who safely transport explosives on and off the carrier. This is precision under pressure.
I do the job I do in the Navy, not so much because of the job, because working with explosives is not the first thing I thought about when I thought about joining, but I do it for the people. Because with my rate, because we deal with explosives and there's a chance that if something goes wrong, it can inherently kill the entire department, we're very tight-knit. And so my job itself is a tight-knit job. My community is a tight-knit community.
With more than 17 years in the Navy, Charles Hart works to make that community even tighter and saves lives.
For a person that knows that's in his word to go to any type of church.
The explosives expert leads an evening Bible study 5 nights a week.
When I came in the military, I was a young believer. So I came in 18, 19 years and I was a Christian. I was a licensed minister. And so I see the importance of making sure you connect at an early age with other believers.
That connection is critical, especially now. On our visit aboard the Roosevelt, sailors are finishing up final training for a 9-month deployment.
Emotionally, you go through a gamut of emotions. You can be lonely at times. Sometimes you can get depressed, sometimes you can get a little under the weather, and so you have to constantly remind yourself that this is only for a period of time. And at the end of the day, my family's at home and they're waiting for me and they're excited about seeing me, just like I'm excited about seeing them. And once this is done, I can go home and spend time with them.
And a sailor's sacrifice can be seen in the simplest of ways. These are sleeping quarters, rather tight for 6 people.
It gets tough sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, it really does. Obviously you're gonna miss your family. You grew up with them. You know, I lived with my family for 19 years, and now all of a sudden, just like that, I'm away from them. Luckily, I do have people around the ship that I can call my sea family, you know, and they get me through the days.
This is a milestone mission for Stephen Green, his first deployment as a Christian.
Pretty much, yes, my faith did begin on the ship.
Less than a year ago, the 22-year-old attended a worship service in the ship's forecastle the same area where he works, to lift and drop anchor. At that meeting, another sailor invited Stephen to attend his church back at home.
First day there, honestly, I didn't get much of anything. Something was drawing me to that church though, so I came back the second time, and that's when the pastor, we were right in the middle of worship service, and she stopped, and she looked directly at me, and that's when she spoke into my life and gave me what God was telling me, and it was just crazy for me, because it was a couple weeks ago that I was praying to God about what was going on in my life and what I was asking him for, and it was like she was listening on me and God's conversation.
The sailor's prayers were answered. He accepted Christ, stopped drinking, and found freedom in the Christian faith he first discovered aboard the ship.
It was really bad. It was where I was to the point where I was drinking every night. Every night. I was pretty much trying to fill that void in my life of thinking that it'd make me, happier and take all my depression away, all my stress away. And obviously it did not. I needed God. I'm actually 8 months sober now. And it was, for a lot of friends that I used to have, it was, they didn't really get it. They didn't really understand it.
Green beat the odds, which show alcohol abuse is a significant problem for young people in the military. He now prays when the big stick sets sail, those old drinking buddies will someday join him.
Everybody in here, please pray for him.
At a ship Bible study, a ship church service. Or they'll simply pause to truly hear one of the ship's nightly prayers.
Life as a Christian at sea can be very similar to life as a Christian in port, depending on how you connect yourself with other believers.
And the connection provides added protection. Ephraim Graham, CBN News, aboard the USS Theodore Roosevelt.
Coming up, driven from her home, yet full of forgiveness. Watch the amazing story of a 10-year-old Iraqi refugee offering God's love to ISIS.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Yeah! Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. 8 years ago, my husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Pentecost 2015. From the corners of the earth, believers gather in Jerusalem. Walk where Jesus walked. Pray in Gethsemane. Rejoice at the empty tomb. Don't miss messages from over 100 world-renowned speakers and a score of popular worship artists. For more information and to register for the Empowered 21 Global Congress, go to Jerusalem2015.com. This May, Jerusalem.
And welcome back to the broadcast. How do you forgive the person who killed your family, left you homeless? Well, a young Iraqi refugee has much to teach all of us about forgiveness from her own experience. Gary Lane spoke with a reporter who met this remarkable Christian girl offering forgiveness to ISIS.
What can you tell us about Miriam? What do you know about her?
Miriam, she's a 10-year-old girl from Iraq. She had been displaced from her place in Karakosh, and now she's living in a mall in Erbil. She was very active at school, and she has a very lovely smile, and most of it, she has a very lovely heart as well.
طيب انت مش بيجيلك وقت كده تبقي زعلانة بتحسي ان يسوع سابك مثلا؟
لا، مرات يعني أبكي على البيت مالتنا، أبكي على قراقوش، بس ما أزعل إنه الله يعني سابنا من قراقوش، يعني رحنا من قراقوش. أشكره لأنه سترنا.
Does she have brothers, sisters? And what did they do in Karakosh?
She only has one sibling, one girl, her sister, Zomorod, and her father and her mother. They educated their children in a very good manners, and she really loves their parents, you know. She loves them in a way that they only teach her how to sing, how to love each other, and we really can feel this amount of burst of love that's coming out of Miriam. They are just modest family, and they are like hundreds others family that come out from their places, displaced by ISIS, and went to live in Erbil.
And what impressed you the most about what she told you?
You can see, Gary, that she has some kind of very deep truth in her voice and in her eyes as well, you know. When you see a 10-year-old girl, and when I thanked her at the end of the interview, she told me, "I thank you, you taught me a lot." And when I asked her, "What did I taught you?" She told me, "You didn't taught me, you just felt for me." Can you imagine, like, 10-year-old girl in this situation, lost everything behind her, and she's just full of hope, and she sings for Jesus.
انت حاسه بايه ناحيه الناس اللي ممكن تبقى خرجتك من البيت وتعبتك؟
ما راح اسويهم ولا شيء، بس يعني اقول لله يسامحهم.
وانت تقدري تسامحيهم كمان؟
ايوه.
بس دي حاجه صعبه قوي ولا حاجه سهله ان انا اعرف اسامح الناس اللي تعبتني يا مريم؟
ما راح اقتلهم، يعني ليه اقتلهم؟ بس زعلانه ليه طلعونا من بيتنا.
I think it's very important for people in the West to know that we need to pray for these kids in order for this single small bit of light to still, you know, shining inside their hearts and minds, and to keep their souls and their stories as well to go through the whole world, so many people know how much we still have faith, you know, and these kids still have faith in their hearts in spite of all what's going on around them.
وترجعوا كمان في بيت احلى من البيت الاولاني.
كيف الله؟ ما كيفنا نحن، كيف الله هو اللي يعرف.
Thank you, Issam Nagy of Sat7 for joining us today. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Incredible. What a precious young girl. Well, you can find Gary's entire interview at cbnnews.com. We'll be right back.
Give me that. Bye. Sure, life is busy, but I found a way to make a huge difference in people's lives. I guess you could say I'm changing the world right here from home. I bring medical supplies and doctors to people in need, and dig wells so that villagers can have clean and safe water to drink. I make it possible to preach the gospel in over 100 countries, including right here in America. And when disaster strikes, I'm there, providing food, thank you, and emergency supplies to give people hope again. Every day, CBN and I are making the world a better place. Here you go. My life is hectic, so I joined CBN through Pledge Express. My bank does all the work, and I know that my gift is being used where it's needed most. So become a CBN partner and join Pledge Express, because you can do a world of good right from where you are. Hi, good morning. Are you ready to get started?
Pat Robertson recently recorded a very special program to answer the question, does God still heal today?
What we're trying to do here, Scott, is to tell people how they can access the power of the living God through Jesus Christ.
Discover the answers and let your faith be encouraged.
And then Jesus spelled out of how we can have healing and how we can have miracles.
In Pat Robertson's latest DVD, Be Healed, you'll learn the biblical basis for healing today.
how to exchange anxiety and worry for faith and confidence, the way to pray for your healing and healing for those you love. Plus, meet real people who've experienced the miraculous healing power of God.
The first thing I did was reached out for a lifesaver, and that was God. You know, you can put your trust in medicine, but the ultimate healing is going to have to be God.
Find out the biblical principles that lead to healing in Pat Robertson's latest teaching, Be Healed. Available now.
Poor and unschooled children in Indonesia are receiving a free education thanks to CBN.
And not only are the kids learning to read and write, but they're also being taught godly values. CBN Asia correspondent Lucille Talusan brings us more.
Rini was in 8th grade when she stopped going to school. Her parents did not have the money to pay for her education. Other children residing in this poor community near Jakarta had a similar experience. Unschooled, they lived without purpose. CBN social workers in Indonesia responded by establishing a school that gives free education to children like Rini and her friends.
At first, I was not really interested in studying. I was lazy and rebellious, but my father ordered me to go back to school. And now, I like coming to this school because aside from the regular subjects, I enjoy learning different skills.
Here, the students are taught how to make the design on the batik, which is the material used to make Indonesian traditional clothes. And this is a skill taught to the students to empower them and to help them earn a living.
Kindergarten students learned values by watching Superbook. Bobby Gafoor is the head of the CBN school.
95% are Muslim students. Every race, every ethnic, and every religion, they can come to our school. The way we reconcile about the religion, we just teach them about the Christian values.
Parents like Maria are happy with their children's development.
My son's behavior has improved. He can now be friends with everybody. He tells me there's this good guy, Isa Al-Masih. He can heal. He can make people see.
Maria was inspired by her son's words. Though a Muslim, she asked the school staff to pray that the lump in her breast would disappear.
I am very happy that they can pray for my healing. Prayer is an expression of love. Thank you for your help and encouragement.
The school is helping to transform the hearts and minds of the students.
I am very satisfied with how they are helping my daughter. Before, she did not help me, but now her behavior is changed. I am very happy that she is able to continue her studies because all her older siblings did not even reach high school.
I came from nothing and now I can learn about anything. I also learned how to dream, to become a doctor someday. Thank you too for teaching me about Jesus because right now I know him well.
And with the right foundation, the future of these young people now looks very promising. Lucille Talusan, CBN News, Jakarta.
Thanks, Lucille. I want to send a special greeting to a wonderful Taiwanese lady who watches us faithfully every week, Yali Lin. Thank you so much for watching our show.
Hey, Yali Lin. Thanks for watching. Well, thanks for all of you for watching. Until next week, from all of us here at Christian World News, goodbye and God bless you.